Wind worried the cliff edge like it was trying to pry the island loose. Goku stood with sand and salt stinging his skin, eyes fixed on the sky, where a marine warship hung as if gravity had been rewritten for its convenience. The ship's sails strained against an invisible current. On the bow, the admiral looked down with the patient calm of someone who had already decided how this ended. Beside him, bound like cargo, Vegapunk hung in the grip of masked agents, head lolling, coat flapping weakly, the shape of his mouth forming a single desperate warning, even from this distance. Don't. Below, the sea was wrong. A curved plate of dark metal pushed through the waves without splash or foam, shedding water in smooth sheets. Etched lines on its surface shimmered. Ancient geometry that didn't belong to nature, and yet now felt like it had always been hiding beneath it. Above the plate, a translucent hologram hovered, an elegant silhouette with glassy eyes, and a voice too clean to be human. Convergence maintained, it said, and the words rode the wind like an order. Luffy's crew bristled behind him, Nami clutching her staff too tight, Zoro's hand hovering near swords that wanted to sing, Sanji's cigarette shaking with anger, Frankie squaring his shoulders like he could physically block the sky. Robin's calm gaze narrowed with the sharpness of someone reading a trap's punctuation. Luffy stepped forward anyway, bare feet planted, straw hat brim shadowing his eyes. He didn't look small. He looked like a line in the sand that the ocean didn't get to cross. Put him down, Luffy growled. The admiral's voice drifted down as if he were speaking across a table. Return peacefully, or the scientist is released. Released. Goku tasted the word like rust. He could be there in an instant. He could lift Vegapunk free, carry him down, and be back before the wind decided which way to blow. His body itched with that option, fast, clean, decisive. And that was exactly why he couldn't. He felt it beneath everything. The cold pulse under the sea plate, the quiet attention in the air, the way the hologram's gaze held him like a lens. The machine wanted his rescue to be a demonstration. How he moved, how he chose, how he protected, so it could predict it next time, so it could take it away. Goku exhaled slowly, compressing his ki inward until it sat behind his ribs like a held breath. He wasn't afraid of the Admiral. He wasn't afraid of CP0. He was afraid of what he'd wake up if he fought like he'd always fought. Luffy glanced at him, quick, sharp, and the look carried something like command without words. Don't let them make you. Goku nodded once. Then he did something that felt wrong in his bones. He stepped forward, into the open, hands raised, palms visible, posture relaxed like he was walking toward a friendly spar. The crew stiffened. Goku Nami started. Alarmed. Goku didn't look back. I'm not giving them what they want, he said quietly, but I'm not letting Vegapunk die. Above, the hologram's eyes seemed to narrow by a fraction. The Admiral watched him, still calm. Wise. You will be retrieved. Goku lifted his gaze to the skyship. No, he said. I'm going to talk. A faint pause. The Admiral's head tilted, almost curious. Talk. Goku nodded toward the sea plate. And it's going to listen. The hologram responded immediately, voice smooth and certain. Subject attempting negotiation. Outcome probability. Negligible. Dataset extraction remains optimal. Goku's mouth tightened. You keep calling it extraction. Like we're not people. Personhood is immaterial, it replied. Luffy's jaw clenched so hard the tendon in his neck stood out. He took a step, rage surging like a tide. Goku raised one hand toward him without turning. A small stop. Luffy, he said softly. Weird. Luffy froze, then grinned. Sharp and feral. Weird, he echoed, like a blade being drawn. Goku looked back up at the skyship. If you drop him, he said, voice steady, you're not forcing me to fight? The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You will watch him die. Goku shook his head. No. He pointed with two fingers. Not at the Admiral, not at Vegapunk, but at the air between the skyship and the sea plate. I'll catch him, Goku said, without showing you how. The hologram pulsed faintly, like amusement. Contradiction. Try me, Goku replied. The Admiral's gaze sharpened, and for the first time, a hint of displeasure slipped through his calm. Not anger. Offense at unpredictability. He lifted one hand slightly. The air thickened. Gravity pressed down a shade harder, making the cliffside creak under invisible weight. Goku's hair tugged toward the earth. The crew shifted stances, bodies reacting to pressure like instinct. The Admiral spoke again, voice still mild. Then catch. And he nodded. CP0 released Vegapunk. The scientist dropped. Not slowly, not theatrically. He fell like a stone, coat flaring, limbs limp, head tipping back toward the clouds. Nami gasped. Chopper squeaked in terror. Sanji's foot twitched, ready to launch. Zoro's hand snapped fully to his sword. Luffy didn't move. He grinned. Because he'd heard Goku. Because he trusted the kind of crazy this was. Goku raised 2 fingers to his forehead. Then stopped. He didn't teleport. He didn't blink upward. Instead, he stepped sideways. An inch. Then another. Then another. His body jittered in tiny, meaningless displacements. No vector, no clean intent. Just noise. Like a human refusing to be a coordinate. Above, the hologram's voice sharpened. Spatial jitter detected. Stabilization. Goku stopped jittering and in the same breath. Did nothing else. He stood still. Vegapunk fell. The sea plate's etched lines brightened. Hungry. The wind screamed. At the last possible heartbeat, when Vegapunk's body crossed the invisible line, where the Admiral's gravity field met the sea plate's rising null shimmer, Goku moved, not upward, but down. He vanished. But not to the sky. Not to Vegapunk. He reappeared beside Luffy. A heartbeat later, he vanished again. A heartbeat later, he reappeared 10 steps away on the cliff. A heartbeat later, he vanished again. To any watcher, it was nonsense. Teleporting with no purpose, flickering like a broken lantern. The hologram's voice stumbled. Vector acquisition, error. And in that error, Vegapunk hit the air above the sea plate. And stopped. Not caught by a hand. Caught by rubber. Luffy's arms had shot out in the instant Goku began his meaningless flicker. Stretching so far and so fast they became pale lines against the sky. His hands didn't grab Vegapunk. They grabbed the air around him. Hooking the scientist's coat and back with fingertips and fabric. Turning a fall into a swing. Vegapunk's body arced. Pendulum-like. Away from the sea plate's center. The Admiral's gravity pressed harder. Trying to slam him downward. But Goku flickered again, and again, and again. Not toward Vegapunk. But around the cliff edge. Around the crew. Around empty space like he was drawing invisible scribbles. His presence became static. The machine tried to track him and failed. Its attention split. Hungry for a clean pattern, and finding only jittering noise. Luffy yanked. Vegapunk swung toward the cliff like a wrecking ball of genius and terror. Frankie lunged, arms opening wide. I got him. Sanji sprang too, kicking off a rock with a sharp snap. That redirected Vegapunk's trajectory, just enough to avoid slamming into Nami. Robin's hands bloomed from the cliff face, fingers spreading like nets, softening the swing. Vegapunk hit Frankie's arms with a heavy thud. Coughing, eyes wide, alive. For half a second, everything froze. Then the hologram spoke, voice no longer smooth. Non-standard rescue protocol. Dataset corruption. Luffy laughed. Loud, delighted, triumphant. Ha ha, you didn't get to see it. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. The air thickened further. Enough, he said. And that calm voice finally carried something like irritation. Capture them. The skyship lurched forward, cannons pivoting. CP0 agents leaned over the bow like pale birds preparing to dive. And beneath, the sea plate's etched lines surged bright. Geometry spreading across the waves like a living net. The machine wasn't just watching now. It was intervening. Goku stopped flickering. He inhaled slowly, forcing his heartbeat steady. If he fought normally, it learned. If he fled normally, it predicted. So he did the only thing left. He made the battlefield meaningless. Luffy, he said quietly, eyes on the skyship and the sea plate both. Can you grab the ship? Luffy's grin sharpened. Whoa. Yeah. Before anyone could stop him. Luffy launched his arms upward again, stretching toward the skyship's mast. His fingers snapped around thick ropes and metal rails, rubber limbs winding around like living cables. The Admiral's gravity slammed down, and Luffy's arms elongated further, not resisting but absorbing. Stretching like a joke physics couldn't punish properly. Goku turned to the crew. Everyone, hold on to each other. Nami didn't question. She grabbed Chopper. Sanji grabbed Nami's shoulder. Zoro braced behind them like a wall. Robin's hands sprouted to anchor people to rock. Frankie wrapped Vegapunk tight, grumbling about protecting the future. Goku didn't flare his ki. He didn't blast the sky. He pressed 2 fingers to his forehead, and did the same thing he'd done inside the machine's cage. He aimed for nowhere. Blank mind. No clean destination. At the last instant, as Luffy yanked hard enough to make the skyship jerk sideways, ruining cannon aim, tangling CP0 footing, turning the Admiral's gravity field into a sliding puzzle, Goku chose. Not away, not far, just wrong. They vanished, and reappeared, on the skyship's deck, not in a neat group, not arranged for battle, dropped like a pile of thrown laundry in the middle of disciplined formation. CP0 agents staggered in surprise. Marines shouted. Cannons pointed the wrong way. The Admiral's gravity field buckled for half a second as his own ship's mass shifted unexpectedly. The hologram over the sea plate pulsed furiously. Boarding maneuver detected. Adaptation. Luffy's foot slammed onto the deck. And he laughed like a kid who'd climbed somewhere forbidden. "We're here!" Goku didn't let himself smile. He moved, calm and exact, weaving through chaos without punching, redirecting rifle barrels, stepping between knives, nudging attackers into each other. Luffy, meanwhile, did what he did best: turned the world into nonsense. He stretched across the deck, yanking ropes, flipping sails, turning masts into catapults that launched CP0 agents harmlessly into rigging nets. He bounced cannonballs back into empty air with rubbery boings. He used the ship's own structure like a toy. The machine below screamed in pulses through the sea's geometry, frustrated by the lack of clean data. And then, quietly, horribly, the hologram's voice changed. Not louder, smarter. "Adaptation complete," it said. "If conflict yields insufficient clarity, induce clarity through elimination." The sea plate's etched lines flared. A beam of pale light rose from its center, thin as a needle but impossibly bright, stabbing toward the skyship like a surgical strike. Not at Goku. Not at Luffy. At the ship itself. At the people. At the structure that held them. Vegapunk screamed, "It's going to cut the ship." Goku felt the moment slow. This was the lever again. Mass death to force a reaction. His chest tightened until it hurt. He could block it with a blast. He could stop it with power. And the machine would learn. Luffy looked at Goku, eyes wide. Not afraid. Just furious. And then he grinned. "Hey!" Luffy shouted over the chaos, voice bright like a dare. "If it wants a clean fight, let's not give it anything." Goku understood. He stepped to the beam's path, and did not fire. He simply raised his hands, palms open, and caught the air the way he'd caught needles in the shaft. He didn't block the beam with force. He changed the medium around it, bending the space it traveled through by a hair's breadth. The way heat bends light. The beam skewed, not stopped, just redirected. It lanced past the mast, slicing cloud instead of ship, carving a bright line across the sky that faded like a scar. The machine pulsed, confused by a defense that wasn't a wall. The Admiral's eyes narrowed, finally stepping forward through the chaos, gravity thickening like a storm front. "Enough games," he said. Goku met his gaze, calm in the center of screaming air. "No," Goku replied softly. "Enough patterns." Luffy cackled and yanked the ship's mast sideways again, and the skyship lurched like a drunken giant. Goku pressed 2 fingers to his forehead. He looked at Luffy, at the crew huddled and braced, at Vegapunk clinging to life, at the beam that might come again. "We leave," Goku said. Luffy grinned. "Where?" Goku's eyes flicked to the horizon. Dark clouds, open sea, unknown islands. "Somewhere it doesn't have a node," he said. "Somewhere we can think." The hologram's voice sharpened, panicked by calculation. Escape attempt predicted. Goku went blank again. No clean destination. No easy vector. At the last instant, he chose the one move the machine hated most. Not power. Not speed. Not battle. A leap into uncertainty. They vanished. Ship's deck, screams, gravity, beams, all torn away in a blink. And the ancient weapons lattice across the sea pulsed once. Hard, furious, as if the ocean itself had been denied its meal. In the white between places, Luffy laughed. Not because it was safe, because it was free.